And If I Needed You, I think, is one of the most beautiful love songs. It's pledging something. It's a leap of faith. And it's just totally disarming.
Emmylou Harris, a country music icon, a voice admired across the globe. But in 2013, she unexpectedly made headlines for a reason no one could have foreseen: a car accident and allegations of leaving the scene. Why would an artist known for maintaining a spotless image and steering clear of scandals get involved in such an incident? Was it merely an accident, or was there something more hidden beneath the surface? And if you think that's the most surprising part, wait for what comes next. A legendary singer with countless Grammy Awards who had worked with Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Dolly Parton, yet didn't truly start writing her own music until she was over 50 years old. Why would an artist at the peak of her career take decades to step into the world of songwriting? Was it pressure, fear, or had she never believed in her own ability? The shadows behind Emmylou Harris's life and career have rarely been fully revealed. This video will take you through little-known truths about her, from secrets in her relationship with Gram Parsons to the decisions that reshaped the path of a legend. Emmylou Harris was born on April 2, 1947, in Birmingham, Alabama, into a military family marked by discipline, but also by deep sorrow. Her father, Walter Harris, was a United States Marine Corps officer, a tough, dedicated man devoted to his duty. But that very devotion brought profound loss to his family. In 1952, when Emmylou was just 5 years old, her father was taken as a prisoner of war during the Korean War. For 10 months, he was held captive, and no one knew whether he was alive or dead. His disappearance brought not only emotional pain, but also pushed her mother, Eugenia Harris, into a profoundly challenging period. As a military wife, Eugenia had to shoulder the entire family burden alone, raising her children without knowing whether her husband would ever come home. Her strength and perseverance became a defining lesson for Emmylou, who would later face her own share of loss and adversity. The hopeless waiting, the loneliness of a woman steering the family alone, those experiences eventually seeped into Emmylou Harris's music, giving her voice a depth of sorrow that could not be faked. When Walter Harris was freed and returned home, the Harris family resumed the life of a typical military household, constantly relocating from one place to another. From North Carolina to Woodbridge, Virginia, Emmylou was always adapting to new environments, new friends, and different schools. But rather than feeling lost, she learned to adapt quickly, a skill that would prove invaluable in her performing career, where constant touring was the norm. This ever-changing lifestyle also planted a lingering sense of yearning, a feeling of not truly belonging anywhere, a theme that would later recur throughout her songs. Despite the transient nature of her upbringing, Emmylou excelled academically. When the family settled in Virginia, she attended Garfield Senior High School, where she wasn't just a high-achieving student, she graduated as valedictorian. Even in high school, Emmylou Harris showed remarkable talent, not just in academics but across various fields. She played the saxophone in the marching band, joined the cheerleading squad, and was a standout presence in the school's artistic activities. But it was her love for the stage that led her toward the path of theater. After high school, Emmylou received a drama scholarship to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. There, she participated in numerous productions, including Shakespeare's The Tempest. Looking back at this time, no one would have guessed that Emmylou Harris would one day become a legendary singer. Her initial path was entirely different. She wanted to be a stage actress, immersing herself in classic plays. But fate had other plans. While in college, Emmylou stumbled upon the music of Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, and Pete Seeger, names that completely shifted her worldview. She bought a guitar, taught herself how to play, and began singing along to folk tunes. It didn't take long for her to realize that her true passion wasn't theater. It was music. The more she played guitar and sang, the more she felt this was her calling. An actor could step into different stories, but a musician could tell their own. And so she made a bold decision. She dropped out of college, gave up theater, and left Greensboro for New York, the heart of the 1960s folk revival. It was a risky move, but it marked the first step in her journey toward becoming a legend. In the late 1960s, Greenwich Village was the heart of the folk music movement, a place where young artists came in search of their big break. Bob Dylan had once gone from an unknown busker to a legend right there. But for Emmylou Harris, New York was no promised land. With no industry connections and no record deal, she had to work as a waitress to make ends meet. At night, she would take her guitar and perform in tiny coffee shops, hoping someone might actually listen. It was a hard life, but she didn't give up. Eventually, she got the chance to release her debut album, Gliding Bird, in 1969. It was her first milestone, but also a bitter failure. The album went largely unnoticed, and the record label went bankrupt shortly afterward, burying the project in obscurity. Every door seemed to shut just as it was beginning to open. That same year, she married songwriter Tom Slocum. The marriage didn't last long, but in 1970, they welcomed their daughter, Mika Halley Slocum. Still, financial pressure and a stalled career quickly tore the relationship apart. By 1971, she was divorced, raising her daughter alone, with no record deal, no career, and no clear path forward. She had no choice but to move back in with her parents in Washington, D.C., where she had help raising her child. But even back at square one, she never gave up on music. At the time, Washington, D.C. had a small but vibrant music scene. She started performing again in bars and clubs, trying to slowly rebuild her career. It was there she met Bill and Taffy Danoff, a songwriter couple who introduced her to bar owners and helped her land more regular gigs. But without a real opportunity, Harris might have remained just another anonymous singer in D.C. bars. That opportunity came one fateful night, when Chris Hillman walked into a coffee house and heard her sing. Chris Hillman, former member of the legendary band The Byrds, was immediately captivated by Emmylou Harris's voice. He recognized something rare in a young artist, the authenticity with which she told stories through music. Not long after, he introduced her to Gram Parsons, who was looking for a female vocalist to duet with on his first solo album, GP. Parsons wasn't just a musician. He was a pioneer, blending country with rock to create an entirely new genre. He didn't want a typical country voice. He needed someone with a folk edge, someone who could sing with genuine emotion without sounding forced. And the moment he heard Emmylou Harris, he knew he'd found the one. At the time, Harris still doubted herself. She had never thought of herself as a country singer, but Parsons convinced her. He told her that country wasn't about rigid formulas. It was about storytelling, and she had that gift. She agreed to record GP and quickly became an essential part of Parsons's music. She then toured with him, joined the Flying Burrito Brothers, and stepped fully into the world of country rock, a world that would one day crown her a legend. She recorded Grievous Angel and toured across the U.S. with Parsons. The two shared a perfect musical chemistry, crafting deeply emotional duets. But fate was merciless. In 1973, Gram Parsons died suddenly at the age of 26 from a drug overdose, leaving Emmylou Harris devastated. Their relationship was never officially confirmed as romantic, but their musical bond was undeniable. His death brought Harris immense grief, but it also pushed her to realize that the best way to honor him was to continue the music they had created together. Out of that pain came Boulder to Birmingham, one of her most iconic songs, a tribute to Parsons. Anyone who's ever heard it can't forget these lyrics. I would walk all the way from Boulder to Birmingham if I thought I could see your face. I was in the wilderness and the canyon was on fire. The hardest part is knowing I'll survive. These lines capture the loss, emptiness, and deep sorrow Harris felt facing the reality that the most important companion in her life was gone. 3 other duets between them were later released on the 1976 album Sleepless Nights, preserving the beauty of their collaboration. But by that time, Emmylou Harris was no longer anyone's backup singer. She had made the decision to go solo, and quickly became one of the most important voices in country and Americana music. After signing with Warner Bros. Records, she released her first solo album, Pieces of the Sky, 1975, marking a major turning point in her career. The album made a strong impression with its depth and its refined blend of traditional country and modern sensibility. In particular, the hit, If I Could Only Win Your Love, brought her name onto the charts, paving the way for a string of successful albums that followed. Within just 5 years, she released a series of landmark records that cemented her status in the country world. Elite Hotel, 1976, Luxury Liner, 1977, and Blue Kentucky Girl, 1979, the last of which earned her first Grammy Award. From singing others' songs, Emmylou Harris had transformed into an artist with a distinct voice, one that could not be replaced. Beyond her solo success, she became one of the most sought-after collaborators in the music industry. Bob Dylan invited her to record on his pivotal 1976 album, Desire. She later worked with legends like Neil Young, Roy Orbison, Willie Nelson, Ryan Adams, and Mark Knopfler, becoming a bridge between country, folk, and rock. With her expressive voice and fluid versatility, Harris didn't confine herself to one genre. She expanded country's boundaries. One of the most important projects of her career was The Trio, a collaboration with Dolly Parton and Linda Ronstadt. The album Trio, 1987, sold millions, topped the country charts, and won a Grammy, affirming the power of women artists in the music industry. They followed up with Trio 2, 1999, which earned another Grammy. The trio didn't just produce outstanding music, they proved that women could dominate the game and leave an indelible mark on the history of country music. Even after becoming a towering figure in country music, Emmylou Harris never stopped reinventing herself. In 1995, she shocked fans by releasing Wrecking Ball, an album that shattered the conventions of traditional country. Produced by Daniel Lanois, who had worked with U2 and Peter Gabriel, the record leaned into alternative country, rock, and folk, creating a wholly unique soundscape. Though it faced backlash from traditionalists, Wrecking Ball won the Grammy for Best Contemporary Folk Album and became one of the most influential works of her career. Once again, Harris proved she was never afraid of risk, never content with the safety zone. With over 50 years in the music industry, Emmylou Harris has left a legacy that extends beyond her albums through lasting contributions to music and the arts. She has won a total of 12 Grammy Awards, including major categories like Album of the Year, Best Country Album, and Best Folk Album. In 2007, she was inducted into the Nashville Music City Walk of Fame, recognizing her irreplaceable contributions to American music. VH1 also ranked her number 22 on their list of the 100 greatest women of rock and roll, affirming her influence far beyond country. From an unknown singer performing in coffee houses, from an artist left reeling after the death of Gram Parsons, Emmylou Harris rose on her own, proving herself a true legend. She didn't just succeed. She became a symbol of perseverance, reinvention, and relentless creativity. More than half a century later, her voice still echoes, a testament to the power of artistry and the endurance of true talent. Her career is a reminder that true passion never runs dry. It belongs only to those brave enough to follow it all the way. If Emmylou Harris is a legend on stage, then off stage, she is a woman whose personal life has been marked by turbulence. 3 failed marriages, a much speculated friendship with Gram Parsons, a car accident in 2013, and a decision to remain single for decades, all contribute to a complex, contradictory portrait of the famed singer. She married songwriter Tom Slocum in 1969, but the marriage lasted only a year. When their daughter, Mika Halley Slocum, was born in 1970, they soon parted ways. Harris has rarely spoken about this marriage in interviews, which has led many to wonder, was it too painful a chapter to revisit, or is she simply someone who prefers to leave the past behind and focus on what's ahead? After years of dedicating herself to music, Harris remarried in 1977, this time to producer Brian Ahern, a key figure in her career. This second marriage was not only a union of hearts, but also of creative minds, with Ahern helping Harris produce several iconic albums. They had a daughter together, M.T. Ahern, born in 1979. However, with demanding schedules, relentless touring, and the pressures of the music industry, their relationship gradually eroded. As they began devoting more time to music than to each other, their marriage came to an end in 1984. Not long after, Harris entered her third marriage, this time with British songwriter Paul Kennerly in 1985. This was perhaps her most intriguing marriage, as it coincided with a deeply personal musical project, The Ballad of Sally Rose. Though the album was described as a fictional work, everyone could see it mirrored Harris's own life, and more pointedly, her relationship with Gram Parsons. This sparked speculation that she married Kennerly in search of a connection she once had with Parsons, but never truly found again. By 1993, they had divorced, marking the third time Harris was unable to sustain a long-term marriage. Though Emmylou Harris married 3 times, the most influential person in her life wasn't any of her husbands, it was Gram Parsons. They met in the early 1970s, when Parsons was searching for a female voice to sing alongside him on his first solo album. Their relationship quickly evolved into a powerful bond, so much so that Parsons' wife, Gretchen Parsons, often suspected there was more than just friendship or professional collaboration between them. At the time, Harris didn't have a strong foundation in country music, but it was Parsons who opened an entirely new world to her. While recording GP and touring with the Fallen Angels, Harris began to truly understand the depth and beauty of country music. I started hearing the genius of George Jones, the beauty and the harmonies of the Louvin brothers, the poetry of country music that I had never noticed before. I felt like I had been baptized in it. Thanks to Parsons, Harris realized she didn't need to imitate anyone. She could find her own voice through country music. But just as their careers were taking off together, tragedy struck. In 1973, Gram Parsons died suddenly of a drug overdose at the age of 26. For Harris, it wasn't just the loss of a collaborator, it was one of the greatest shocks of her life. To cope with the pain, she wrote the song "Boulder to Birmingham," one of the most personal songs of her career. It was the first time I had truly lost someone close to me. Someone who had a huge impact on my life. I lost him so suddenly. I didn't know how to process it, so I wrote that song to express my grief. For years afterward, Harris continued to speak of Parsons with deep reverence, and some believe he was the love she never got the chance to fully acknowledge. After 3 failed marriages, she never sought out romance again. She no longer believed in marriage, but she never stopped believing in music, the one thing that could fill the space Parsons left behind. Beyond music, Harris gave her love to animals. In 2004, she founded Bonaparte's Retreat, a dog rescue organization named after one of her beloved pets. Perhaps after all the losses in her life, she found more warmth and loyalty in animals than she ever did in people. Still, Harris's otherwise private life was shaken in 2013 when she was involved in a car accident in Los Angeles. She was accused of hitting another vehicle and leaving the scene without stopping. The other driver reported the incident to police, and Harris was investigated for leaving the scene of an accident. She later explained that she hadn't realized she had caused a collision, and the incident resulted in no major consequences. Still, it was a rare moment where Harris's name was linked to controversy, surprising many. Despite the turmoil in her life, Harris never let the past define her. She always chose to move forward, using music to heal and seeking peace in her present. 3 failed marriages, a relationship that defied labels, a car accident that shook her image. All of it only made Harris more real. She isn't some distant, untouchable icon. She's a woman full of pain, loss, and choices. And perhaps that's why she has remained beloved for so long. Not just as a music legend, but as a soul in whom we can all see a part of ourselves. Emmylou Harris is not just a country artist. She's someone who shattered the boundaries between country, folk, and rock, helping to shape the Americana movement. Throughout her career, she brought a fresh perspective to country music, blending tradition with modernity and inspiring generations of artists to follow. Albums like Wrecking Ball, 1995, proved that country didn't have to stay confined within its old framework. It could evolve boldly into more creative directions. She didn't just carry on Gram Parsons' legacy, she expanded the borders of music itself, influencing artists like Gillian Welch, Lucinda Williams, Casey Musgraves, and Brandi Carlile, musicians who continue to infuse Americana with that same spirit of innovation. Beyond her contributions to music, Harris has also been an active social advocate. She's fought for women's rights within the music industry, helping create opportunities for female artists to grow and succeed. Her deep love for animals led to the founding of Bonaparte's Retreat, a dog rescue organization in Nashville dedicated to finding homes for homeless dogs. With 12 Grammy Awards, a place in the Grand Ole Opry, and her name enshrined on the Nashville Music City Walk of Fame, Emmylou Harris has proven herself not just as a singer, but as a cultural icon, an artist who never stops reinventing herself and giving back to the world. Her legacy lies not only in her songs, but in her pioneering spirit, compassion, and unwavering pursuit of true artistry. After more than 5 decades devoted to music, Emmylou Harris shows no signs of slowing down. At 77, she continues to take the stage, participate in meaningful projects, and maintain her influence in the folk country scene. While she no longer releases new albums frequently, Harris still handpicks special events to perform, not for fame, but for a passion that has never cooled. In 2025, she is set to appear in a series of major music programs, from the LA Folk Festival and solo shows in Nashville, Milwaukee, Evanston, and Vienna, to the highly anticipated A Very Special Evening with Emmylou Harris and Graham Nash at Tanglewood in July. Notably, she will also be part of a tribute concert honoring Joan Baez, sharing the stage with names like Hozier, Rosanne Cash, and Bonnie Raitt, a testament to her stature among the greats. Outside of music, she remains deeply committed to animal rights, a cause close to her heart. Bonaparte's Retreat, the dog rescue organization she founded, continues to thrive in Nashville, helping abandoned dogs find loving homes. In 2024, she was honored by the ASPCA with the Henry Berg Award, recognizing her tireless dedication to this mission. The accolades don't stop at awards. Her album Stumble into Grace was re-released on vinyl in 2023, proving that her music still holds timeless value. Though no longer consumed by long tours, Harris cherishes every opportunity to perform, turning each concert into a lasting memory. On the personal side, Harris still resides in Nashville, Tennessee, where she balances her career, advocacy work, and peaceful moments with her beloved dogs. Her 2 daughters, Mika Hallie Slocum and MT Ahern, rarely appear in the public eye, though it is known that MT Ahern has pursued a music career, continuing her mother's legacy in her own way. For someone who has never stopped creating, Emmylou Harris's story is far from over. What surprises might she bring in the years ahead? A great artist never truly stops, and for Harris, that truth has never changed. Emmylou Harris is not just a legendary voice. She is a symbol of resilience, creativity, and compassion. From a young folk singer performing in tiny coffee houses, she rose to become one of the greatest artists in country and Americana, leaving an indelible mark. But what has kept her on this path for over half a century? Was it love for music, or a loneliness that never truly left? She once had it all: fame, awards, recognition. Yet she chose a solitary life, never remarried, finding joy only in music and the loyal companionship of her dogs. Is this the freedom she longed for? Or is it the echo of something unspoken? Something she's never allowed the world to see? What do you think about Emmylou Harris's life and career? Has she truly found her own happiness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories about music legends, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss a single story. Let's keep the music alive.